I find myself stranded alone in a zombie apocalypse, but don't worry, I am a professional. He noticed me? As a world-renowned survivalist, for the next 100 days, my skills will be put to the test in this desolate worldscape filled with the undead. I'll need to clear entire infested cities, build a bandit-proof fortress, this is gonna be a time sink, create the longest zombie buster caravan, coming through, and figure out the mysterious origins of the zombie epidemic. At the start of day 1, I found myself on a street next to this toppled bus, and if you're curious, this is what I looked like, complete with an incredibly beautiful 5 o'clock shadow and chiseled jawline. There were a couple of the undead further down the road, but it would seem they hadn't noticed me yet. I had nothing except for the clothes I was wearing and this shiny knife. Let's see, where are we? Oh, lovely. Nothing has names. So for this, we have to infer a little bit. Okay, great. I just sort of picked a direction and ran. Luckily for me, I eventually stumbled across this small gated housing area. I didn't want to attract too much attention because I could hear the rumblings of some zombies along the street, so I crept in through the back door to see what I could find. Pants? Cargo pants? Ooh, I can get extra storage, excellent. Besides the super fashionable pants I picked up, I was able to snag an energy bar and after searching the kitchen, some canned food. I wasn't too hungry just yet, but I had a feeling that these would be great for dinner later. I got a few things, but nothing fantastic. Anything like a gun, my lord? Making my way over to the neighbor's house, it seemed like I was doing a pretty good job flying under the undead radar. That is until... Oh! Wait. Get away. Ugh. I think I just killed the mailman. The houses weren't half bad, but no gun just yet. And to make matters worse, I still had no idea where I was. That is until I realized I actually had a few landmarks to work with. A broken down bus, a couple of roadside houses, and the mountains in the distance. Let's see if I can figure this out. It's like against a mountain, right? So, well, okay, actually there's a lot of mountains. This does feel edge of the mappy, I will say. This does feel edge of the mappy. In fact, I feel like I'm on a corner through the power of deduction, through the power of seduction. Hold on. I think I might be up here. Yes, okay. And actually it looks like since I visited that spot, it marked it on the map. Okay, I saw if I stuck to this path, I'd eventually run into a city, and perhaps there I could find a gun. Following the road, I came across this abandoned home. Hello, residents. These guys have to be gun owners, right? They, in fact, were not gun owners, though I did find this fancy skirt while looting here, as well as this nifty machete and a lunchbox, which opened up more space for food and drinks. Besides that, though, the cottage didn't have too much. At least, that's what I thought until I heard gunshots erupt nearby. Checking out the aftermath. That looks like a zombie. Oh, wait. That's a person. Oh, thank God. Hey, how's it going, partner? Is that Rick Grimes? Oh, wow, fancy rifle. These guys are kind of geared. Honestly, my thoughts are starting to like wander. I'll admit, whacking one of the survivors over the head with a big rock crossed my mind, but with all three of them standing close enough to cover for each other, I had a sinking feeling that a simple oops, just kidding would not have smoothed things over. As I continued down the road though, the sun was quickly setting and I knew I had to find some shelter. Absolutely nothing. Without a flashlight, I was basically walking around blind. The good news was that I found this water tower, at least I think it was a water tower, that I was able to climb up on, and I camped out here for the night. Zombies can't climb ladders, right? The next morning, I continued down the road and came across some wrecked emergency vehicles. I checked it out because if this was where police officers and firefighters were, maybe, just maybe, there would be a gun in here. Please have a gun in a trash bag. Okay, wait. Oh my God, that was an explosive one. Great. Oh, that's so good. Nope, no gun in sight. Exploding acidic zombies, plenty. There was a silver lining here though. You see, I found some water purification tablets that I was able to cleanse this dirty water jug I had found earlier, and after some finagling, and then drink that. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, we are so back. With my hydration issues solved, it turned out checking every house along this road did prove to be useful because I ended up finding this pistol in a trunk of a car, as well as a pump shotgun. Things were going great for me by this point. I even took the M9 out for a little test run, which, given the very limited ammo I had, there were some regrets. We'll probably be sticking to the machete for a bit, because I thought it would be like a one-shot headshot or something. Following the road a bit more, I eventually came to the start of the big city that I had spotted on the map. After seeing how everyone living there had become part of the undead horde, I did the most logical thing and headed in through this gap in the fence. This was the fallen city of Elwood. I started checking out some of the loots in the houses, but most of the stuff in here was more furniture related, which sure, would be great for when I set up my base, but not so great when I'm trying to fight my way through hordes of zombies. On the flip side, I soon realized that maybe going full blast with my new guns wasn't the best idea. This guy could get the shoddy treatment. Yep, there we go. Okay, yeah, he snuck up on me. The others I'll... Oh, wow. Uh-oh, I think I attracted the entire town. Oh, Jesus. Thankfully, meleeing is pretty strong in this game. It's quiet, doesn't knock back, and can hit multiple zombies at once. In fact, as I ventured further into the city, I was actually able to fend off an entire wave just by positioning myself in a certain way to cleave through multiples of them. Okay, the whole town is here, and I'm 1 HP, great. Soon it was night again, and I continued my looting spree. However, the zombies were still able to perfectly pick me out, yet I could barely see them. Not ideal. Still, my search through the residences proved to be worth it. I found an extra backpack where I realized, can I do backpack within backpack shenanigans? I can. Oh my god. Much like games like Tarkov, you can put backpacks within backpacks to allow for even more loot space. Unlike Tarkov, it turned out you could do this infinitely, which is perfect for a loot goblin like me. Unfortunately, none of that mattered at the moment because as I ventured deeper into the city, this place is just, oh my, whoa, who is that? Oh, Grundy. Come here, beastie. Oh, he's got a lot of HP. Oh. He does not slow down either. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh, I'm out of stamina. Oh my. That, my friends, was my first run-in with Grundy, one of the many zombie bosses sprinkled throughout the world. They were faster, tankier, smarter, and did way more damage than the average undead. And we're gonna stay away from that. The middle dude. Is that him? No, I think that's just a trash can. Never mind. By now, I had lucked across a couple of military backpacks, both of which I stuffed into my Alice backpack, meaning I can now become the pack rat that I was always meant to be. However, as I ventured further into this corner of the city, a certain haze started to fill the air. Why is everything red? What is that? This, if it wasn't obvious, was an infestation point, and judging by how this poor dude was posed, I had a feeling they went rather unwillingly. I hacked away at the mound, but I was quickly rushed not by one, but several waves of infected zombies who didn't seem particularly happy with what I was doing. Eventually, I wrapped up the last wave and finished destroying the secondary infestation, where I realized I could loot it. Oh! We found it! We're rich! We're rich! We're so back. We are so bad, guys. Okay, to sort of pump the brakes here, yes, I found a cool looking AR, and while I was a bit disappointed it didn't come with mags, this was just the tip of the loot iceberg. You see, after venturing into this 2-story building, I went upstairs and stumbled across the second secondary infestation point, although it was a bit high up and out of reach of my machete. Unfortunately, I think I have to shoot this thing. Pumping it with the shotty wasn't the quietest, but it definitely was way faster than meleeing, which meant I had to deal with way fewer waves. After taking it out, well, let's see what's in here. Oh, legendary. For my efforts, I was awarded with this juicy Barrett M82 sniper rifle, though my enthusiasm was a little dampened when I saw it didn't exactly come with any ammo. I also picked up this Benelli automatic shotgun, a nice upgrade from the pump I had been using. I want to test something, just real quick. Oh. The zombies cannot climb. There was just one problem with this strategy. My beloved machete came up short. No, literally, I wasn't able to hit the zombies. I later tried this same strategy using a fire axe, which was a bit longer and... oh yeah, this is so doable. Just across this parking lot, I came across the main infestation point, this time with a whopping 2500 HP. Since this area was a bit more central to the city, going guns blazing and risking attracting every undead inhabitant of Elwood seemed like a bad idea. I whacked away at it with my fire axe, then when the first wave came, I rushed over to a nearby wrecked car and climbed on top. And just like I had planned, even just by standing on the hood, the zombies weren't able to touch me. Well, or so I thought, until... who the heck is this? Oh my... Yep, while I had expected more waves to come, I wasn't quite ready for the Giga Chad zombie to make an appearance. On my second try, I got the infestation down to about half health before I started hearing the first wave spawn in. I needed a new plan, specifically a new car to climb on top of. Luckily for me, this was a junkyard, and I soon found not a car, but a whole stack of them to climb up on. Much higher up than before. Wow, there's so many. There's so many of these things. Okay, that's Big Man. Can he reach me? No, we're good. But he is very formidable. Oh my god, 4,130 health? This might be a bit. I know I just said the Giga Chad couldn't hit me, but I lied. He had about 40 times more health than me, which made trading hits feel one-sided. But everyone has a weakness, and his just so happened to lean down after every arm swing. This is the right angle. This is the right angle of attack. I can poke him. He cannot poke me. It wasn't pretty, but the method worked. After many swings whittling away at his giant's health bar, I finally brought him down. There we go. Wait, what was that skill point? Yeah, apparently I had this journal this whole time in my back pocket. There were a few stats listed on the first page, but maybe more importantly, a skill tree on the second, where I can actually build out my character more. Finally, on the third page, there was a quest for me. Get to the Valley Safe Zone. All that could wait though, because after I cleared out the remaining zombies... Ooh, let's see what they got. Oh my god. This is the juice. So looking back, I think I was just astronomically lucky with getting this many legendaries so early. This was the Guardian, a pretty hard-hitting semi-auto 7.62 gun. The primary infestation still had about half health left, but I wanted to take the Guardian out for a field test. Wait, bandits? These aren't they're bandits. And I just did 200 damage. The bandits didn't have anything crazy on them aside from some cash and healing items. More importantly, I still had the infestation to deal with. Now, okay, I'll fully admit I did get a little sidetracked with checking out the skill tree, and I did do some light looting and exploring of Elwood, and I also found this well to restock on some water. But after all that, I did make it back over to the primary infestation spot to finish the job. Now, I thought since clearing the Giga Chat from earlier, that meant I wouldn't have any more waves to deal with. Well, I was wrong. Chuck a nade. Hey guys. I think I attracted just about every zombie, including the big guy. While I did indeed aggro Grundy, I was happy he was the only big boss I had to deal with. Or so I thought. Oh, look who decided to join us. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, this nightmare of a battle had just begun. Luckily, my card cheese strat was working out, and since I already attracted most of the zombies to me, I let loose with a combination of the Guardian, my shotgun, my pistol, and axe to bring down this wave of enemies. Now, honestly, this process took a really long time, and before I knew it, night had fallen again. How did I end up here? After clearing out the remaining zombies, I looked at the loot from Grundy and the Giga Chad, which were decent, but nothing like the jackpot I hit earlier. In fact, even after I went back and finished off the infestation, I'll be honest guys, I think my luck must have ran out because what I got wasn't great. Either way, my time here in Elwood wasn't completely done. You see, it turned out every major POI here had both a boss, in this case it was Grundy, and a special container, which I still hadn't found yet. If I had to guess, the special loot box would probably be in the biggest, scariest apartment complex building. Okay, I was a bit wrong here. The tallest building wasn't an apartment building, but instead an abandoned hospital. And as much as it looked like the place to find this special container, it was mostly filled with medical supplies. Helpful, sure, but not what I was looking for. It was night again, and the search for the hidden secret container continued. On the plus side, I did randomly find this legendary katana in a dresser in one of the apartments I was exploring. What kind of weeb is keeping a katana in the dresser? And after a quick field test, it proved itself quite the formidable zombie splitter. While I was looking around, I eventually picked up this flashlight that made my nighttime expeditions a bit more tolerable, and I even stumbled into the store and found myself a duffel bag, 40 slots. Oh, we can go infinite. After stuffing my bag into the duffel, thus continuing bagfinity, I continued looking for that special container. The thought of just giving up and moving on crept into my mind by this point, though my luck was soon starting to shift for the better. Wait. Is this it? Abandoned high-tier crate. Oh, Jesus. Jump scare. This was indeed the special container. And what was inside of it, you may ask? Well, this one was interesting. It had yet another legendary melee weapon, the Dark Machete. I took it out for a spin against these zombies, but while I was out there, I overheard a radio from a nearby military checkpoint with some pretty ominous news. A mysterious, well-equipped paramilitary force was apparently slaughtering survivors. Who exactly was this group, and why were they here in a valley full of the undead? Honestly, I probably should have been more worried about it, but for now, I was too busy itching my loot addiction. Needless to say, I'd have my run-in with them soon enough. In the meantime, while it appeared I had looted and fully explored Elwood, there was one last remaining thing: the abandoned underground subway station. I headed down into the inky black abyss, which was so dark that even though I had my flashlight, I still felt uneasy. Oh boy. I braced myself for a massive underground horde awaiting me, but luckily there were just a handful of zombies which my katana made short work of. It was still pretty unsettling down here, a seemingly unending dark void with an occasional undead jump scare. After exploring for a bit, I came across this doorway that gave me a prompt to fast travel to another city, somewhere called Grain Valley. Oh, we're here. Yes, because we have a GPS, now we can tell where we are. Okay. And we're next to another city. Okay, pause. So I had forgotten to mention this, but at some point in Elwood, I had picked up a GPS, which is this item here. It would basically pinpoint exactly where I was on the map at all times. Also, after I explored a bit more of the Grain Valley subway station, I found yet another door, this time leading to a city called Lawrence Creek. Yeah, where does that bring me? Ooh, these are like little fast travel spots. I poked around the Lawrence Creek station, but it looked like a completely blocked off dead end wherever I went. Without spoiling anything though, there was in fact an area that I had missed here. However, knowing what I know now, dodging what was waiting for me around a specific corner was probably the best mistake I've made at the time. For now though, past Candy Roo will think it's a dead end, and I ended up going back to Grain Valley. Alright, we're actually not too far off from the valley's safe zone. Arriving at the surface, I could see that though Grain Valley was a smaller town, it did indeed have a POI boss as well as a special container. I was feeling pretty good on loot though, so for now I headed over to the survivor safe zone. I left town and made my way towards this mountainside. There was a bit of a wraparound I had to get through for the safe zone, but by doing so, I saw something peculiar on the roadside. A hazmat containment area heavily guarded not only by undead hounds, but armored undead hounds, as well as radiated zombies, and get this, ultra radiated zombies. Judging by their HP, they were all way tankier than what I've come across so far. So I knew to clear out a place like this, I need to whip out my best gun, the Guardian. Uh-oh, what did I put my Guardian? Did I lose my Guardian? Somehow, like just in the shuffle of trying to rearrange stuff, I might have dropped it. Oh. Yeah, somehow I lost my legendary Guardian. To this day, I'm still not entirely sure how it went missing, but either way, I didn't have much time to feel down about it. The undead zombie dogs still had excellent hearing despite being, well, zombies, and I was soon rushed by a couple of them. Me. Unfortunately, somehow I lost my Guardian rifle. I had stumbled across the Patient Zero building, where allegedly everything went wrong. There was a steady tick of high levels of radiation, so I knew if I wanted to make it out of here alive, I'd need to loot fast. Sadly, besides the locked containers that I didn't have lockpicks for, there wasn't much else here. So I headed out and continued towards the safe zone. Not too long after I crossed this bend around the mountain, I came upon this abandoned shopping mall. By now, my loot-itis had come back, and I decided to take a quick sneak peek at what this place had to offer, and, well, it didn't look like I was alone. Okay, there are a lot of zombies here. Good lord. I knew in order to loot here meant I had to clear out the horde of undead shoppers. I took out the zombies one by one with my katana, though at some point I must have gotten impatient because I decided to pick up the pace with my AR. Big guy. Big guy. Paul Darts. Paul Dart, who apparently defended the mall's merchandise until the very end, eventually succumbed to my card cheese. The loot he had on him was okay, the military suppressor I picked up made my AR much more stealthy, and the military jacket allowed me to carry more stuff, which was perfect given that I then spent the rest of the day picking through the mall. Since I took out the boss here, I was now on the lookout for the special container. Night had fallen by now, and I made my way upstairs to continue my search. I had a suspicion that the container wouldn't be inside, so I found a door that led to the roof. And after climbing a ladder... Wait... There we go. Abandoned high-tier crate. Okay, there's... Oh, dude, it gives you the Guardian Suppressor. Dude, what a kick in the nuts. While the Guardian Suppressor was nice to find, it was as if the universe was taunting me with it because... well, I was still very raw from misplacing my Guardian. Either way, the good news was the safe zone was actually not too far off, and by morning, after a short run through these forests, I had made it. Valley safe zone, here we go. This is it. We've made it. There's the barber. Okay, wow. I thought I had hair. I finally made it to the safe zone, and besides the barber, there was the black market trader who sold loot boxes and special currency called credits. There was also the wandering traveler who sold some really nice high-tier gear. There were also some more generalized shopkeepers like the supply trader who had some survival basics, or the materials trader who had some base building materials, and I ended up picking up some scrap metal since I realized I needed some to make a crafting bench. It was peaceful out here in the safe zone and quite tempting to stick around for a bit longer. However, I still had a long road ahead of me. First, I had to try to get the Guardian back somehow, and secondly, build up a base of operations. Between the hordes of zombies and this mysterious paramilitary group, I knew I had to be ready for anything. Alright, we should also find a place to put down our base. I decided to pick out a hilltop area just west of the safe zone as a possible place for my base of operations. I chopped down some trees with my fireman's axe, put together this crafting bench, and then realized I could actually make other types of workbenches using the crafting bench. The only issue was, well, I was a bit short on scrap metal. I put down this tent as a very temporary starter home and figured the nearby POI with an infection area might be my best bet for finding more base building supplies. Sounded pretty straightforward, right? Yeah, well, not really. See, an incredibly thick fog had crept in by the time I made it down near the POI. In this case, it was a gun range and diner combo. Either way, I spent the night clearing out as many of the undead as I could with my dark machete. I eventually was able to get into the gun range itself to see exactly what I was dealing with. I'm seeing some infestation, little rope thing. It leads out that way. Okay, there it is. I ended up scouting out the infestation points, and by the morning, I set to work on taking out one of them. All right, come on out. Do you reach me? No. The shoddy is really nice. See what we got. Secondary infection, hunting rifle. Not that impressive. Clearing out more zombies, I made my way over to the second secondary infestation, taking it out with the shoddy, and then making short work of the ensuing waves. Now all that was left was the main event, the primary infestation, and with it, a Giga Chad I'd have to contend with. He might mess me up. Alright, let's just get to it. Okay, run to our car, they're gonna be coming out. They're gonna be angry. Alright, there's Big Man. Yep. Alrighty, let's see how this goes. Nice and easy. I don't know why he is turned in that direction. Honestly. Oh. Accidentally rolled. Okay, he's not moving. Thankfully, doing accidental gymnastics while fighting with the undead Giga Chad didn't result in him just turning around and walloping me to death. The loot he had was decent, some legendary attachments for guns I didn't have, as well as this nifty body armor. The primary infestation did have a nice legendary M2010 sniper, as well as a helmet that I could attach some night vision goggles to. But sadly, no Guardian though, and perhaps on a more disappointing note, no scrap metal for my base. My luck was about to change though. You see, as I headed more south, I came across these apartment buildings. By this point, I did some research on how to exactly get scrap, and apparently some garbage piles could be meleeed with a crowbar for scrap metal, which is something I would have never have thought to do. Apparently they give you scrap, which is, I didn't know that was a thing, but I just looked it up. There's just zero indication that you could do that. Good news is there's a lot of these piles everywhere. If I had known, holy cow, I would have been swimming in scrap by now. Well, okay, this was only half true. The next morning, as I ventured further south, I came across an area called the truck stop, which also had trash piles, but sadly these were not scrappable. Let's see. Is this mineable? Okay, not all trash piles were created equal, apparently, so I wasn't crazy for not knowing. I headed further south and eventually found myself in a city called Whitewood. Now, there was a boss here as well as a special container, and I did end up spending the rest of the day looting what I could. However, I was distracted because I noticed a couple of airdrops overhead, and this time, they were landing nearby and I didn't want to miss out. Coincidentally, they actually took me all the way back up the way I came, towards my base. On a more disappointing note, the airdrops didn't turn out to be anything special, however. All 3 were just medical supplies. I decided to make the best of it and gathered up some wood so I could finish up those crafting benches. Perfect. Why is that so small? Is this a workbench for ants? After figuring out how to deploy the crafting benches, I realized that I was having second thoughts on my base location. The hilltop was nice, but not exactly close to anything. So instead, I picked a spot just south of Whitewood, nearby the river's edge, and soon after began my hike over there. It's getting mighty dark, sir. It's getting mighty dark. On the way to the new base spot, I stumbled across the vehicle dealer, but after seeing the prices, I suddenly felt fine with just walking. I don't think I can afford this. By sunrise, I had gotten to about where I wanted to place my base and got to work. The first bits of foundation actually required quite a bit of scrap metal, which I needed for nails. What's worse was the wood cost on the foundation alone was starting to add up, and I quickly realized this could be a time sink. Indeed, it would be. Now, looking back, if I was one to be happy with a smaller, more modest base, it would have been pretty straightforward. But there was just one huge problem. I'm not one for mediocrity, so what I had in mind would require a lot more materials. We just need more scrap, so we gotta go visit this. On my quest for more scrap metal and nails, I saw just south of me there was yet another POI, and unlike the cities I've explored so far, this one would be a little bit different. This was the Tropical Shell Hotel, and while I was hoping to book a room, they must have been at full occupancy with all the undead I had to clear out, both on the outside and on the main floor. Spider-Man? What's Spider-Man doing here? Here, catch. I figured if there were goodies to be had, they'd likely be on the higher floors, and well, the Tropical Shell Hotel did not disappoint. I found tons of great gear like this hiking backpack, which I ended up using to continue Bagfinity. The hotel also had some interesting guests, like this guy who picked the worst possible time for a bathroom break, or this lovely couple who were clearly in the middle of a game of cops and robbers. Or take this dude who spent his last moments enjoying the view of humanity's last sunset while sipping his favorite beverage. Did he drink bleach? Aha. Here's the whole... Wait, no, wait. Even better, and a ladder. The ladder took me up to the higher levels, which were just infested with the undead. Luckily for me though, they didn't seem too terribly interested in rushing me, so I was able to take them out with my trusty silenced CR308. After a bit of searching, I eventually found... abandoned high tier crate. Wait! Does this have a boss? Yes, there is a POI boss here. Okay. I spent a good while going through each floor looking for the boss and fighting through waves of the undead hotel guests, not realizing I had it wrong this whole time. While the container was in the hotel itself, the boss was actually in one place I hadn't checked. Wait. The concierge? Oh lord. Wait a second. I know just the thing. If I could find it, it is. Let's see how this is. Okay, while the sniper wasn't exactly the one-shot headshot I had hoped for on the boss, it was silenced, so I was able to take some free pot shots without attracting a ton of attention. And if you're wondering how the loot from the concierge was, well, there wasn't too much on him, sadly. There were still quite a few zombies to clear and areas to loot here, but before I knew it, night had fallen again. Alright, I think we cleared out as much as I want to from this tropical place. Unfortunately, I feel like I haven't been able to find much scrap or nails. After hacking through an unreasonable amount of zombies, I hobbled out of the Tropical Shell Hotel in one piece, though sadly, empty-handed on scrap and nails. There was a small silver lining here, because I realized that salvaging one of the smoking cars outside gave a decent 20 piece of scrap metal, which is nice, but not quite the amount of what I actually needed. I ended up taking a long hike along the roadside trying to spot salvageable cars. By the evening, I ended up going so north that I was back at Whitewood. I had skipped Whitewood earlier, but since I was here, I figured it wouldn't hurt to clear the city out. I started with a hospital, which, unlike Elwood's, actually had the secret loot container, which had a few things, but nothing to write home about. Back on the main street of Whitewood, I scouted out the 2 secondary infestation points. By now, I was a pretty well-seasoned zombie killer, and so these weren't too hard to take out, especially with my shotgun and some card cheese. However, for the primary infestation, I had the idea to pull out a gun that had been wasting away in my backpack, the M249. I hadn't used it before since I was always short on 5.56. Well, that was until now. 42 times 100. Yeah, that'd be more than enough. All right. Oh. Oh. I see the error of my ways. I should have been using this the entire time. I'm so sorry. America. Okay, while I've been having terrible luck with loot drops, I finally picked up something worth celebrating. The Colonel's Revenge, a legendary 5.56 rifle. And to make things even spicier, I had already picked up a couple of legendary attachments for it. Still, I had hoped to be reunited with the Guardian, my long-lost first love. No Guardian. Okay, it wasn't a complete disappointment because I did nab up this nice Black Ops plate carrier, which opened up a few additional storage slots. I spent a bit more time here in Whitewood before realizing that while I did take out the infestation points, I forgot to clear out the last remaining thing, the S-Mart manager. Hey, over here. Guardian sight? Guardian muzzle brake? Dude, the game is just messing with me now. With that, Whitewood was saved. Not really, and my job here was done. I headed back and spent the day gathering up as much wood as I could to continue the construction of my first base. I needed a place to call home, a fire to keep me warm, a roof over my head to keep me dry, and a safe area to store extra loot. Also, regarding scrap metal, while exploring roads for broken down cars was a way to harvest some, it wasn't the most efficient. It was here that I discovered the power of the disassembly workbench. Seemingly useless items could be reduced down to materials like these cans and this refrigerator that could be converted into both scrap and high quality metal. Ooh, that gives me some stuff. However, to get really efficient with it, I found that I could actually take apart extra bullets and turn the bullet casings into scrap metal at a really nice exchange rate. Oh, it's 1-to-1? What's even better was that I found that I could craft rare ammo types just by reusing disassembled ammo parts from other ammo. So in this case, I took some extra 45 that I never use anyways, turned it into bullet casings and gunpowder, then converted that into, you guessed it, some 50 cal. Day 23. Oh man, that's not gonna get old. I started setting up a second floor on the base, and before you ask, yeah, I know I originally wanted a 3x3 floor plan for the base, but the roof pieces were a little awkward to get right. I could have theoretically disabled snapping and just free-handed the missing pieces into that gap, but I'm a little OCD when it comes to things like this, and I really wanted things to fit cleanly. So I temporarily downsized a little to a 2x3 layout so that the roof pieces could more naturally fit together. I spent the night wrapping up the finishing touches like sealing up the roof, and so by morning the only thing left to do was putting on the doorway. Is it the other way? Okay, this is the base so far. It looks very humble. This is the best I could do for now. It's a little 2-story little cottage with that open flame inside. Oh, no, don't disassemble that. There we go. With my barricaded metal door, my crafting workbenches, some storage which I need to arrange better, randomly a large generator, a cabinet, and of course my luxurious sleeping bag. Yeah, this isn't exactly the base I wanted, but it's the base I got. Okay, for the record, the Mega Fortress was still in the works, but given how much time and resources it would have taken, I was satisfied enough with the small zombie cabin where I could at least offload some of my inventory. That night, I took a look at the map, and there were entire stretches of the world I hadn't even touched yet. So I started heading more southwest towards this bridge. I still need to go on a furniture run for my base and to be reunited with the Guardian, but maybe most importantly, that mysterious paramilitary group was still out there, and I figured if they wouldn't come to me, I'd go out and find them to get some answers. At least, that's what I had in mind until... Good lord. As my luck would have it, a torrential rainstorm came right as I started my adventure. There was another scavenger safe zone on the other side, however, the bridge was actually broken in half. And while I was pretty confident in my physical fitness, making a 30-foot long jump didn't seem like it was in the cards for me. There you go. See, I can escape getting wet from the rain by being underwater. On the other side, I came across this beached ship. I figured maybe it'd be a great place to sift through for some more loot. That is until I noticed some movement. Wait. Survivors. Hello, friends. This was the crashed ship safe zone, a safe zone very similar to the Valley safe zone I've been to before. They had the usual vendors and black market traders here, but quite honestly, after the kind of loot I've been pulling from bosses and infestation points, none of their stock really caught my eye. I headed towards that marked scavenger zone I saw on the map earlier, angling myself just a bit off the roadside so as to not attract any attention, both undead or alive. Eventually, I came across a fire station. However, while I was scouting it out... Oh, Jesus. Friendly scavenger, okay. They killed a scavenger. As I continued watching, it was clear that these guys had, zero survival instincts. No, look behind you, you're getting bit. So I decided to help them out with the rest of the zombies. However, I then realized that their base, the safe zone, it wasn't too far away. While this safe zone was pretty similar to the previous ones, there was one difference: the sheriff. For a very reasonable $2,500, he was willing to give me some intel. I wasn't exactly sure what kind of intel he had, but given that I had just enough cash on me, I decided to take the offer. Was that it? Despite the minimal fanfare, I did notice a new marker on the map, a bandit camp. I wasn't entirely sure if this was worth spending my entire life savings on, but Rick Grimes didn't seem like the type to give out refunds. With my wallet $2,500 lighter, I began the trek out in that direction. On the way, I took out some bandits, found this cute doggo friend, enjoy some meat, buddy, and salvaged every scrappable car I could find. By the next morning, I thought I still had a ways to go. That is until... Oh, Jesus. Who's that? I was actually a lot closer to the bandit camp than I had thought, and judging by how quickly they took out a small group of zombies, I could tell these guys may be a cut above your average survivor. Holy shit. Oh, run. Okay, while it did look like I bit off more than I could chew, to my credit, I was able to loop around back to safety, even using some of the zombies from the apartment complex as bandit bait. I don't know what this guy's thinking. Hit the freaking fence. A few sniper shots later, and the bandits were no more. By the way, the word camp should probably be used very loosely because it was more like a tarp on a stick with a loot box. It looked like the bandits were guarding a very small armory gun stash, which, while nice, I wouldn't say it was $2,500 nice. Either way, since I was close by, I decided to try my luck for legendary gear at a nearby infested apartment. And while I'm no stranger to clearing out infestations, there wasn't a great spot for some card cheese, and I had to rely on using the stairwell as a choke point while clearing this place out. What's up, big boy? Wait, he's stuck! He was stuck. Oh, thank goodness. The boss's loot was okay. There were a few legendary attachments, and the same could be said about the infestation point. though it did spit out this nice Spec Ops MP5, which I actually never ended up using. Now, it had been a while since I've gone through a big city, and I figured visiting one may have the answers to all my problems. Materials and furniture for my future gigabase, finding more legendary guns, Guardian, and hopefully finding out more about how the world got to this point. There was a super massive oceanside city as well as an oil rig to the southeast, so I started heading out there. On the way there, I came across something that I hadn't ever seen before, some sort of military outpost. And if the radioactive sign along with the green glowing zombies didn't give it away, I could tell this place was going to be a headache. But with big headaches come great rewards, so with a radiation mask securely over my face, I decided to get closer for a better look. Once inside, I could see a ton of tents, no doubt with incredibly juicy loot of course, but I could also hear the grumblings of a boss somewhere in this area. Okay, the big guy's here. For sure. Okay, I see him. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, not only did the undead colonel and his radioactive friends give me a wallop of a lifetime, but combine that with getting rushed by arguably the most annoying enemy in the entire game, the zombie dogs, needless to say, my first attempt went pretty poorly. The big boy is there. He noticed me. Oh, run. Get on the tank. Get on the tank. Oh no! There's more. There's more. Yeah, while the M249 was a formidable boss killer, I had attracted quite the crowd. I want to save on 5.56 ammo in case if I need to use the M249 again, so many shotgun blasts later, and I was finally able to hop off the tank. The Colonel himself had a couple of legendary attachments, but otherwise pretty meh. Or at least, that's what I thought. See, the real prize wasn't on him, but rather what he was guarding. A mysterious bunker door that would only lead to, I assumed, more pain. This seems like a bad idea. I hear somebody. And from the sound of it, that's a big boy. Yeah, his shoulders are, his shoulders are too wide. Dude, his shoulders are too wide to fit through the freaking doorway. By the way, Big Shoulders Man had another Colonel's revenge on him. And what's more was the bunker he was guarding was just a labyrinth of loot. Seriously, I won't go through every room I found because it was just basically a loot maze. However, there were a couple of highlights, like finding this legendary Lecce sniper rifle and this large black military backpack. I also came across another legendary M2010 sniper rifle and eventually made my way to another bunker door, this one requiring a level 3 keycard, which led to a room where the secret high tier container was. The number of military grade crates, boxes, and cases I went through in this whole bunker took a while. So much so that on my way out... Is he back? Oh my god, he's back. The Colonel is back. He has more loot. After this, we're done looting. From the looks of it, I don't think any of the other oh, my bad. I don't think any of the other zombies spawned in. I think it was just the Colonel. Okay, at this point, I had to make a critical decision. Though I was actually very close to the oceanside city and the oil rig for that matter, my bags were basically busting at the seams with extra guns, supplies, and furniture like gun lockers. So to free up some space, I opted to head back to base for a drop-off. Plus, I had burned through my supply of 5.56, and if I want to use my M249 for any more bosses, I'll need to craft some more. Anyways, a not so short walk later and I had arrived back at base. I deployed the 3 gun lockers I picked up, sorted through and offloaded some of the extra guns I had, and converted some ammo types I wasn't using into more 5.56. Oh, and on the way back to the Oceanside City, I did end up testing out the Lecce sniper rifle on this bandit group I came across. Good morning, guys. I think the M82 does technically hit a bit harder per bullet, but the Lecce shoots way faster and still hits for well over 600 damage on the headshots. And for those who are probably yelling at the screen, yes, I did end up using the Colonel's Revenge. Looking back, while I've had this gun for a while, I actually still preferred the CR308 since it didn't use 5.56, which I was trying to save for the M249, and it hit harder per bullet, which made it way more economical for 1 or 2 tapping zombies. But anyways, I digress. By this point, I had arrived at the coastal city of New Richland, and if it was anything like the other cities I've come across, I'd have to fight through hordes of the undead all my own. Or at least, that's what I thought. Yeah, looks like someone else is already here though. Luckily, it looked like this band of friendly survivors was already clearing out the zombie herd. Unluckily for them, they, like the others, also had pretty horrible survival instinct. Oh no, no. It also didn't take too long to find the boss for New Richland, the Backstreet Dweller. Now, I didn't utilize card cheese this time because, well, I had bridge cheese. Seriously, I was able to basically poke him infinitely with my silenced Colonel's Revenge. There he is. There's my buddy. Perfect. After clearing out the rest of the small horde with not 1, but 2 grenades, I made my way over to the pile of now dead undead, and I decided to check out the boss first. Oh, what is this? I had just found the legendary Cerberus, and you could imagine my excitement when I saw it was a beefed up version of my trusty CR308. It hit really hard at 72 a shot and used 308 ammo, which I had piles of. Perfect for one-tapping zombies and conserving ammo. The bad news? Well, it had a small-ish magazine size of 12 rounds, which wouldn't have normally been a problem. It's just that I haven't really found any extra Cerberus mags up to this point, and manually trying to pack and refill the mag while getting chased by zombies just didn't seem like a fun time. There was a secret loot crate which I eventually found up here on the roof of this apartment building. It had an extra katana as well as a drum mag for another legendary gun I had yet to find, the Crusher. I spent the next morning clearing out the infestation points here in New Richland, but I realized I didn't have to do all the hard work on my own. Oh, he's back. Oh, hey guys, want help? Hey, right behind you. Oh my god. Oh, there's a lot more. But we have, with the power of friendship, grenade and grenades. Okay, there might have been some collateral damage, but luckily for me, there was still one last survivor left. He's not even fighting back. He's lost his will to live. No. Wait, luckily the Chad zombie does not seem to be able to fit through the fence. Wow. That actually does a lot of damage. I spent the next few days in New Richland clearing out as many zombies as I could and spent quite a few nights looting pretty much everything I came across. However, I remembered there was actually another place I wanted to check out while I was out here, the oil rig. How do I get there? I don't see any boats. I figured a visit out to the oil rig would bring me some answers. It was an isolated area, and surely a bustling community would have made a home there, right? Well, if the impending permanent fog and climbing radiation levels weren't a dead giveaway, this place was anything but safe. Zombies. A couple. Ultra radiated? Yeah, the oil rig was shaping up to be a rough time. This place was a bit like a vertical maze of sorts, with stairwells filled with zombies and ladders disappearing into the thick fog. From what I could see, the oil rig was actually split into multiple sections. How does one access the other sections, you may ask? Well, like this. Oh my god. As I made it up these stairs, I cleared out as many of the undead crew as I could. Though, honestly, I was more on the lookout for where the boss would be. I came across this locked door that required a code, and despite my absolute best efforts, it didn't look like I'd be able to get in anytime soon. I rounded this corner and headed up this ladder, taking out some of the zombie dogs that were waiting for me. Very annoying. Wait, that's the sound of a boss. I'm a little bit worried because I do not have the 5.56 for this. There were actually not one, but two bosses here on Oil Rig that I had to contend with. Following the rumbling groans, I crept forward down this dark path throughway area, realizing that most of the zombies, including one of the bosses, were stuck on the stairwell. That's a lot of zombies. Yeah, they're all just clustered up here. Hold on. Shoot, missed. Oh, jeez. Oh. Climb. Oh, I'm just barely at the edge. Barely at the edge here. Oh my. Oh my god. This is like an arena. Okay, great. He blocked my flare. I was hoping to kind of draw him away. Can I draw him away with the grenade? Let's see. There you go. Go over there. Alright, it's fine. This didn't work. Luckily, the couple of headshots from the Lechi actually put the boss on life support, and my weep stick was able to finish the job. And sure, I was completely out of 5.56 by this point, but given I had the high ground, I was able to clean out the rest of the herd pretty easily. Ooh, I hear another one. Saw him running. Where are you, beastie? There he is. Got him. Okay. Who's this? John? John? Why am I saying like I know him, you know? John, is that you? With most of the zombies cleared out, I was able to freely slurp up the rest of the loot on Oil Rig. I did remember the locked door with the code, so I spent a good part of the morning looking around for it. Eventually, I found another locked door, but luckily it just required a keycard to open. Inside, I came across what looked like a dental cleaning gone wrong, with a couple of techs who clearly had a bad time. Do you know where the code is? Wait. What is this? There's something in here. Maybe. Okay, there's not too much here. Aside from the guns, attachments, ammo, and yet another katana, the code was not here. I spent quite a while scouring the oil rig for any hints on how to get through the locked door, but it wasn't until day 40 that I found the code on the top outdoor level of the oil rig on this table. 5375. I would have never have guessed that. Making my way downstairs, I punched in the code and headed in. I took my time clearing out the room since the last thing I needed was to get rushed by yet another boss, which luckily didn't happen. By the morning, I was able to pick through most of the stuff here, but I was left scratching my head. Where was the secret loot container? Well, to answer that, I needed to take a swim. Yeah, I actually had to look this one up because I'm not sure if I ever would have thought to check underneath the oil rig. Anyways, it was here that I ended up getting more legendary attachments for the Crusher. I got back to shore, and with the oil rig behind me, I started making my way back to base. On day 41, I came across this random construction site, and trust me, I'd usually skip these smaller POIs, but this one had an infestation point, and well, on a whim, I decided to try to clear it. I put down the boss, and it was here that I picked up the legendary battle-ready Glock, along with its suppressor. I already had quite a few drum mags for this gun, and it would go on to prove to be the best sidearm I'd use for the rest of the game. Oh, this thing's amazing. Oh, baby. further along my journey back home, I found this prison. While I personally wouldn't continue guarding a prison once I became a zombie, the staff here seemed uniquely dedicated, especially this guy. Oh my god, he's here. Oh my god. Please, please, hold door, hold door. Door, hold. Oh, okay, some doors he can get through. I continued east, hoping to make it back to the safety and comfort of my base. But I started hearing gunfire. Turned out a local bandit gang had started picking a fight with a small herd in the middle of this town. It's like the bandits made it here before I could. This guy is really tunneled in. All that gunfire had attracted the attention of the station controller, the resident boss here. After dumping a few mags into his face, I went up for a closer look on what he had. Okay. Guardian! We're finally reunited! Oh my gosh, it's been so long, old friend. At last, the Guardian was in my hands once again, and to make things even better, I could finally put all those Guardian attachments to good use. Very nice. Yeah, it hits a little bit harder in the head. Look at that, 196. That night, while looting a nearby grocery store, the radio kicks on with an automated message from the military reporting that they're working on clearing out all threats in the valley, dead and undead. However, just then, a hijacked message came through, and this time it was from a group called the Coyotes. They urged that the military had lied, ran experiments, and they were fighting back. Looking back now at this footage, I think I was too busy looting to actually catch any of this at the time. By the way, this city was Lawrence Creek, and if that name sounds familiar to you, that's because I've been here before. Well, sort of. Remember that subway station expedition from earlier where I reached what I thought was a dead end? Well, we're back, and while I'm not sure if I just missed a turn the first time, but I realized this place was massive. In fact, the deeper I went, the more happy I was I hadn't ventured too far the first time. Oh, big guy. What's up, buddy? Oh, Jesus. There's so much more to this place. Yeah, this place was crawling with radiated undead, and as I went further, there was even a second boss I had to deal with. However, I saw he was actually standing in front of what looked like an old camp. As I got closer, I saw there was a note. What is this? Note. Near the observatory, I spotted some white vans on the side of the road going up to a bunker door. From the looks of it, a keycard or something is needed to get in. I need to find it. I took a look around my map to see if I'd been to a place listed as an observatory. However, it didn't look like I'd come across one just yet. Quite a mysterious note indeed. Clearly, this person figured whatever was nearby the observatory was worth writing about, and I spent a while trying to figure out where it was. By day 45, I made it back to base where I did some offloading and restocking on supplies before trying to find this observatory. I also did some home decorating, like setting down a bunch of these tables, and I had quite a few lights in my pack, which I quickly put up. Wow, these are really bright. I also set down this contamination shower, which I end up moving around since, well, my little zombie cabin wasn't exactly the most spacious base. I had this military Intel laptop, and I was half curious why it wasn't an AMD one, but I activated it anyways and was given a marker for a coyote camp. That's right guys, the very same group that has been causing quite the ruckus in the valley. Now the actual camp was a bit of a hike from my base. I hadn't figured out where the observatory was just yet, so in the meantime, as a temporary break, I decided to make the trip out there to see what I was dealing with. Wait. Ooh, those guys look geared. Yep. There's quite a few of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At least 8. These guys are beefcakes. Beefcakes indeed, but nothing the Lechy in some high ground couldn't fix. I took a left and found a mountaintop position that was basically cheating, and 1.5 Lechy mags later, the camp was cleared. Last guy's over here. Unlike the bandits that I'd usually come across, the coyote soldiers were actually pretty juiced in terms of loot. However, the crates they were guarding had the good stuff, an extra Glock, a bunch of legendary attachments, and the Colonel's Revenge suppressor. A short while later, and I started to head back, but the weather suddenly started to take a turn for the worse. Luckily for me, I found something that was gonna make the trip back a bit faster. Oh my goodness. It would have been nice if we got a car that had a roof. While it was basically in junkyard condition, I was able to repair the buggy a bit, and it had just enough fuel to get me through the storm and back to base in one piece. Looking at the map, I was still trying to figure out where the observatory was, and my best guess, this isolated looking place up in the mountains, which wasn't a terrible guess since, well, most observatories are up in the mountains anyways. There are quite a few zombies out here. Using the buggy, the trip out there actually wasn't too bad. I was able to dodge a lot of zombies and bandits that would normally hold me up. Getting to the location though, I realized something. This does not look like an observatory. What is that shooting? I see something flashing off in the distance. Is that a person? Oh, the turrets. There's a couple of turrets. Alright, too annoying. There's a big boy right there. That's a... Oh my god. While it wasn't the observatory per se, this place seemed like bad news. This was actually called the Redacted area, and while clearing out the boss actually wasn't a huge deal, between the turrets, military equipment, and the massive radiation that permeated every cubic inch of this place, I could tell there was more to it than what was on the surface. I cleared out the remaining undead from this front area and looted the interior of these buildings, mostly finding military crates and gun lockers. Alright. This should be the door. Okay, it's one of these exceedingly dark places. While I wasn't expecting a red carpet welcome, them shooting me on sight felt a bit personal. It turned out that I had stumbled into a massive mountain bunker held by the coyote mercenaries. And unlike the last time where I could snipe them from a mile away from the safety of a mountaintop, now I was forced to deal with all of them in a dark enclosed tunnel. I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Good lord. It wasn't entirely clear to me what the coyotes had set up here. There were tons of undead just outside, and the radioactivity probably wasn't great for their health. Either way, this didn't seem to affect their numbers because the deeper I went, the more coyotes I ended up having to take out. The loot was pretty decent, but to me, the highlight was finding this ghillie hood. Clearly just one piece of a much larger set, which I'll work on finding later. I found yet another door leading deeper into the base, and behind it was, you guessed it, more angry coyotes. There's more. Oh my god. Eventually I came across this passageway where, I don't know, I just had the sense something was waiting around the corner, and I turned off my flashlight and switched to my night vision. At the end of the passage was the final boss, the Coyote Lieutenant, who, a bit anticlimactically, was facing the wrong way. Nothing personnel. The lieutenant had a few gold attachments that I slurped up, but perhaps more interestingly was the secret high-tier crate that I found near this area, which carried the legendary Valkyrie. I took a look at the stats and it was basically a side grade to the Colonel's Revenge, which is useful but nothing absolutely groundbreaking. I quickly pocketed the Valkyrie for later, but unfortunately on my way out, I saw that the undead General Jones had respawned. I felt a bit bolder this time though, so I took this high ground spot, switched my Colonel's Revenge to full auto, and... What's up, bucko? Come at me, come at me. Go bed. Come over. With the redacted area cleared and thoroughly looted, I hopped back into my buggy and headed home. That wasn't the observatory, but I wasn't about to give up hope just yet. Once I got home, I did my usual restocking and resupplying. However, I also took a look at the map again, this time looking in the northwestern area, an area that, honestly, up to this point, I hadn't even really explored yet. I came across this POI with some circular looking buildings, and I figured that this could very well be the observatory, or a mosque. Either way, I packed my bags and headed out. While I used a buggy to get to the redacted area, I decided to save the vehicle usage only for return trips or going to areas that I've been to before. I feel like by going on foot to new places, I can better soak up the journey and stumble across areas that I may have otherwise missed if I just sped through. Anyways, for that reason, I ended up parking my buggy near Whitewood and traveled the rest of the way up north on foot. Anyways, a day trip later, and I was nearing what I figured would be the observatory. This area was pretty mountainous with zero undead wandering about, which was a good sign. That is, until I spotted some movement along the ridgeline. Who's that? Okay, they are out here too. Fortunately, there weren't too many coyotes here at this outpost, and despite what my aim may suggest, I tried my best to quickly take them out before more reinforcements came. Cresting over the hill, however, I saw that I had reached the observatory, though it was now under coyote occupation, and judging by the gunfire, it looked like they were under siege. They're fighting zombies. What in the heck is this? What the heck are they shooting at? Oh, freaking battle. I mean, he's going down. He's going down eventually. Look at these guys. Holy cow, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god, there's so many. I knew if I wanted any chance of getting into the observatory, I'd need to slip past the group of coyotes by the front without getting noticed. While the battle continued on, I took that as my cue to rush to the back. Thankfully, it wasn't nearly as heavily guarded, and I eventually got through this back entrance, but I knew if I wanted to clear this place, a straight gunfight against those numbers probably wouldn't be great. That's when I had an idea. I had accumulated quite a number of landmines by this point, and if there was ever a time to use them, it was now. I'm assuming they're all gonna come through here. They gotta play some kind of these chokes, I feel. So this is the plan. I'm gonna chuck a nade right there. Yep. Nade actually hit somebody. Hold on, hold on. Yep, come on in. Oh, there's no one here. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Huh? That didn't explode? Oh, God. Oh, thank God. Any other takers? Oh, God. Okay, some of these mines are not doing their jobs. Oh my god, there's too many. No, I still have one landmine open. Oof. For some reason, they never tripped this one. Yeah, while doing this little stunt did take me a few tries, pulling it off was quite satisfying, and to my credit, the mines did work well in thinning out the platoon of coyotes. By nightfall, it looked like the observatory was completely coyote-free, and so I headed up the spiral staircase to the telescope room where I got to looting what they were guarding. A whole host of military supplies, crates, and even laboratory drawers. Huh, haven't seen this kind of loot spawn before. Oh my god, this is the Crusher. Now, I've been picking up mags for this thing for the longest time, and it was great to finally find the gun itself. It looked like a 7.62 equivalent of the Colonel's Revenge, but this time, with access to some beefy drum mags, it's now perfect for mowing down herds and bosses alike. Anyways, I scooped up the rest of the loot here, and with that, declared the expedition to the observatory as a complete success. A day's worth of hiking later, and I made it back to familiar territory. Home sweet home. by now, and you can kind of see it yourself, but my base was starting to get too cramped. I was having to stack storage boxes in front of each other, and given that the coyotes probably aren't thrilled about me taking out not one but two of their bases, I figured it was time to bite the bullet and build a much more defensible base. Now, this base was going to be massive, and the ensuing process would take me a lot longer than I could have imagined. I spent the first of many nights clearing out trees for as much wood as I could carry. Getting the geometry right was a bit tough, so I played around with the square and triangle foundations to try to get the floor plan for the first turret. This is the basic circle shape, but not 100% loving it. I did eventually get a circular design that I was happy with, and with that, started building out the walls of the outer shell of the fortress. Honestly though, harvesting up the wood needed to put down the foundation for a massive project like this was pretty time consuming, and I'll end up cutting most of it out here for the sake of time with the video, but just know that at least like 70% of the time building this base was dumped into chopping down trees. I might need a lot more wood. Now, actually planning out the base layout was a challenge in its own right. I tried messing with this double log gate, but with the way that building pieces worked, it just didn't fit cleanly. I ended up scrapping the idea altogether, but I'd eventually come up with an even better entryway structure. I spent the next few days making and connecting the four corners of the fortress, and even started filling in the foundation for the inside. This is what the base looked like on day 62, and I ended up prioritizing finishing the foundation, which required much more wood per piece than regular walls or floors. So fast forward a few days of doing this, and alright, this is day 67, and we still have a big hole in the foundation. Figured once we get the foundation done, it should be faster, I hope, maybe. Once the final pieces of the foundation were put in, it was on to the next part, adding walls. This took some time as well, just due to the sheer amount of surface area I had to cover, but this is what it looked like on day 69. Looking mighty good. Looking real good. Hilariously, there was a minor flaw in the fortress's construction. Since the land sloped downwards towards a river and the castle itself was straight, it created... I have a whole like underground crawl space right here, which actually is kind of cool. Not gonna lie, it actually looks really awesome. I figured at the end I could just seal it off with walls. By day 71, I started working on the turret towers themselves to add a standable surface at the top, but getting these stairs to align correctly was a bit tricky, and I ended up going through a good number of splints. I genuinely tried using nights to harvest more wood and saving the building parts for when there was actual daylight. I also wanted to connect the four towers with a walkway, which I ended up redoing a couple times just so the walls and towers would look more proportional to each other. And in case if you're wondering, this is how it looked on day 75. As you can see, it was all coming together. Looking real solid. With the outer wall mostly completed, I now had the world's biggest dance floor. But since I can't dance, I decided to instead flesh out more of the front gate, creating a killzone zombie meat grinder of sorts, with shooting windows looking down into a contained pit. I started adding the inner walls on day 75, and on day 77, I started adding in the roof. I also added these wooden ramps that would lead into the entryway killzone trap, perfect for easy zombie access. This just might work. Look at this. Look at these guys. It actually worked. I can shoot them, right? Then from this angle. Oh yeah, dude, this works like a charm. It was after doing this that I saw I probably should set up an airlock near that front door. Shortly after, I started moving all of the furniture from the old base into the new one. It was around this point that I realized I needed a personal quarters for myself, so I went ahead and built another floor on top of this one. I added some walls and spent the rest of the day capping it with a roof. Alright, let's show you guys around. So, we have the walk-up ramp into the meat grinder. Well, this is what I'm going to call the meat grinder, where if I'm being chased by a horde, or if a horde comes to me, I can lead him into here, and this edge should keep him out from being able to walk back out. And there's a bunch of windows here to light them up. Here's the little airlock with a decontamination shower, which Works. Oh, whoa. Gotta be careful what I click on. Which works like this. You know, you kind of shower yourself. And then as you guys can see, there is a generator here. Yeah, I do have a tendency to build stuff way too big for my needs, but we will fill this out eventually. There's also a second generator back here for more coverage. No, here's a little storage fridge area. I need more, basically need more stuff to fill it out with. Here's the work area with a bunch of storage, tool cupboard, and the full workbenches. This like balcony shelf thing is for more storage. We have the gun lockers. Grab some guns if you need them. Ammo crate. I'm gonna have to add a door here, but here's one of the towers. A little peak tower right there. You can kind of see out here, or you can kind of go up to here. There's also this little area right here we can run across. Kind of shoot down from, or here, you know. Speaking of which, here's the kill zone. And yes, I can shoot through these windows. I'm leaving this area open, though I could make a door. Then for the upper floors, we have the captain's quarters. The captain's quarters, and a very tall, precarious stairwell with 0 railing, so would not pass code. Here's my personal quarters. Again, it's a little big. A little sleeping bag here, dresser. I need to find more furniture. Basically a little working desk, and the rest I'll fill out eventually. There's also a final floor, and this is more of like a relaxation, like fire pit, bonfire kind of thing. There is an open roof to kind of let the smoke air out, but the real reason is because I couldn't figure out how to fill that hole easily. But you know, we improvise. That is the base. Look at that. Okay, yes, there were a few small things I had to finish up, but by now I felt pretty safe in my fortress. It was missing quite a bit of indoor furniture, however, so I took a look at the map and noticed one of the major POIs I haven't been to yet was a port. And with a bit of luck, perhaps one of the shipping containers there would have some interesting indoor furniture for my base. A short hike through the swamps later, and this looks exciting. Okay, let's see. I found myself in the Longdown Port, a former trade hub filled with forgotten cargo, broken down ships, and of course, plenty of zombies. At this point, I had kitted out the Crusher with a drum mag, and while it didn't come with a silencer, yeah, with this much firepower, I had no problem with the thing being loud. Honestly, it got to a point where I was having so much fun, I actually wanted zombies to try to rush me because this bad boy just absolutely decimated everything and anything I came across. I am shooting them faster. I'm crushing them even faster than they can even spawn in. Just for science. Let's see how fast this goes. Wow. Holy cow, what's in here? Lechy muzzle brake. Oh, there's a bunch here. I eventually found the boss here, Captain Phillips, who, while had survived his run-in with the Somali pirates, apparently wasn't so lucky with the outbreak. Exploring the rest of the port, there wasn't too much in the way of loot. In fact, despite there being a boat parked nearby, unless I was missing something, there didn't seem to be a way in. Either way, I did my due diligence and made sure to go through everything that I could. I made the trip out here, may as well be thorough. Alright, let's see what this high tier crate's got. We've got Cerberus magazines, great. Furniture, great. Neither. There was another town a bit east of the port itself. This was West Grove. Think of it as Elwood or Whitewood, just about 40% smaller. Truthfully, everything seemed about standard procedure here, with about what you could expect. That is until I went into this bank and found... Ooh, what is this? A vault? Okay, what we got? Oh, the Exterminator! At last, I had found the upgrade to the Benelli shotgun I'd been using, the legendary Exterminator. Needless to say, I was quite excited, but it didn't end there. I also picked up the Spec Ops night vision goggles, which were quite a bit more usable than my previous ones. I ended up heading back outside and took my shiny new gear for a quick field test. It does so much damage. At this point, I headed more east-ish. Now, remember that note about the observatory that we found in the subway tunnel? Well, looking back at it, technically the wording was hinting at something near the observatory, not the observatory itself. So I wandered around in the area looking for whatever it could have been, not knowing the horrors that would await me. See something. Hold on. Oh my. Okay. There might be something here. Good lord, hold on. The coyotes were not pleased I had come back for round 3. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many I took out, but there were enough to make me curious as to why they were here in the first place. Oh. That looks awfully suspicious. Suspicious indeed, because as I got closer, I had found myself at the entrance of some sort of underground bunker. The inside was pitch black, and at the bottom of the stairwell, there was a high-tech looking blast door that required a level 2 keycard to get in. Okay, here we go. Let's open that up. What the heck happened here? This was the laboratory, and given how things looked, I don't think it ended very well for anyone who worked here. Despite being able to get in through the main door, the secondary doors seemed to be unpowered, so even though I had the keycards for them, I couldn't get through. I did end up figuring out how to turn on the stairwell lights, and while it made things slightly less creepy down here, I still couldn't get through these secondary doors. That is, until I found this note on this half-eaten scientist hinting at some sort of switch inside the room on his left. Sadly, I couldn't crawl into that room despite there being a decently sized hole in the window, so I had the great idea to throw in a grenade to try to blast it open a bit more. Did that actually work? I'm gonna do something a little bit ballsy. I'm gonna do... This might get me killed. This might, capital M, get me killed. Alright, this should... No. Oh, we got... Oh, no, we still got a couple. Oh, bleeding. Hold on. Wow, what a mess. With the secondary doors open and the horde cleared, I was finally able to venture deeper. Now, I was pretty proud of my little booby trap for that initial horde, but I had a feeling that was just a taste of what awaited me down here. Okay, I guess I gotta go down this way. By this point, I had my crusher equipped along with the drum mag, so I figured I was about ready for anything. I took out this group of undead along with an unreasonably high number of undead hounds. For all my troubles, I did eventually stumble across this specific room where I found a... Phantasm? What? What is this? I actually didn't have too much time to celebrate because the rest of the lab staff and their undead canine companions shuffled in, apparently still very committed to their work even after death. I don't know how there's so many of these things, man. It's unbelievable. Dude. The dogs. The dogs just get me every time. Uh-oh. Okay, luckily, hold on. The Chad zombie is too big to fit through the hole. Oh, thank God, because I thought I was a goner. The rest of the lab was a bit like a maze, but I didn't entirely mind because by now I had cleared out most of the zombies and I even found this nifty special laboratory backpack. We're gonna have to break our vow of no more backpack within a backpack shenanigans because that is a cool backpack. I also found this military intel laptop, which will come in handy later on. I also noticed that there were a good number of doors that were unpowered, so I couldn't actually get in. After some searching, I realized there was a generator that I could switch on, which not only illuminated the rest of the lab, but made these doors openable. Judging by the amount of blood covering the walls and tables, I could see that whatever happened down here went very, very wrong. I had a feeling that maybe the zombie outbreak wasn't entirely by chance and was instead someone's little science experiment. Either way, it wasn't like anyone was left to fill me in, and by now I had about checked every corner of the lab, so it was time to head out. From the lab, I went a bit north, taking a walk along this ridgeline until I ran into this cluster of abandoned houses. It was here that I took the Phantasm for a test drive. Hey, buddy. Oh. He almost got me. I then took a pretty hard west, hitting the Gladewater military camp, where I fought the beast. Uh-oh, he's not slowing down. And after that, eventually made my way more westerly towards Gladewater itself, another small town similar to the previous ones I visited. However, it was a good thing I stopped by here because... Ooh, the survive. Whoa, I haven't seen this. Okay. Reminds me of the Crusher in a lot of ways. Afterwards, I headed a bit north, towards this upper west dead zone, but sadly there wasn't anything here, and I wasn't kidding about it being a dead zone because there were neither coyotes, bandits, nor the undead to clear out. I figured the dev working on SurrounDEAD would eventually use this area for something, but in the meantime I continued back east, and I found myself in front of an abandoned police station. Now, dude. I might as well go full auto. Hold on. I made my way inside. There were a few zombies groaning that I'd clear out eventually, as well as an unbelievable amount of paper just strewn around the ground. The basement level, I came across a garage filled with vehicles, but there was just one problem. How am I gonna get it out of here? Whoa, these are all SWAT vans. Unfortunately for me, the lever for the garage door was unpowered, and I quickly learned it wasn't going to be as straightforward as just turning on the generator because, well, this one required a special key. So I made my way to the upper levels of the station, clearing out the few zombies left here, and went key hunting. I ventured into the evidence room and began looking around there. Let's check all these desks. Police briefcase, we're going to be in there. There it is. The interesting thing was that I could tell the police had been making the connections between some strange disappearances, Dragonfly Labs, and someone named Jay Myers. I'm half assuming the Dragonfly Labs mentioned here was the very same one as the laboratory that I had just cleared a few days earlier. But all that mystery and conspiracy will have to wait because, well, we have 6 lovely SWAT vans to free in the garage. So after plugging in the key into the generator, turning it on, then opening the garage door, I realized there was another problem. Oh man, getting these out are gonna be really hard. I'm not exactly sure how these SWAT vehicles were parked in here in the first place, but getting them out seemed like a near impossible task. However, after some nudging, pushing, and forcing the vehicle to hop a bit... Hold on, can I drive now? I can. Oh yeah! Oh my god, yes! We did it! Hold on. Why stop at 1 when you can have all 6? There we go. Dude, okay, that's 2. Yeah, there you go, we can do one of these, hitch. After some more finagling with the rest of the SUVs, I was able to get all 6 of them out of the garage, and I figured now would be a good time to head back to base to refuel and fix them up. Alright, behold everybody, the SWAT Caterpillar. It's kind of difficult to drive this. No, it's okay. Whoa, easy girl, easy. I think this northwestern area had a lot more vehicles than the rest of the map. Along the way, I picked up this ambulance and attached it to the caravan, and if you thought the absurdity ended there, well, you'd be wrong, because I also came across this Jeep and pickup, and, well, you know what I had to do. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Honestly, whipping it around corners it does kill zombies. Okay? Whoa. Easy now, girl. Easy. No. I think this is all right. Yeah, this is all right. Okay, excuse me. Coming through, coming through, coming through, coming through, coming through, coming through. I definitely had everything under control. One long and stressful trip later, and I was back at base. There were a few vehicles that got a little dinged up in transport, but the caravan remained intact. And I'll admit, I was pretty impressed with the vehicle collection I had picked up. Now, remember that military Intel laptop I picked up from the lab? Well, it was marked as a classified container at, yep, that's right, the redacted area. Okay. We're back. The turrets are back. And that big boy right there is back. This time I had positioned myself the opposite way I came in the first time, so just right above the bunker entryway, which made picking off the enemies a walk in the park. I was wondering what could be possibly in the container that would make this trip worth it until I took a peek inside. Did something just go into my inventory? Oh, grenade launcher! I've been throwing away those nades. The 40 millimeters. Oh. Well, does it have anything in it? Let me see. Does it have one nade? Do we have one nade? 3. Got 3. Got a couple of these things. Let's see. Oh. Oh. Okay, this is the coolest gun. This is the coolest gun. Dude, where have I been putting those nades? I might have been disassembling them because I just never found a use for it. With my new favorite weapon in hand, I began my glorious return back to base. I ended up stopping by the safe zone at the crashed ship to see if any of the survivors had any more 40mm grenades in stock, but it seemed like they were all out for the moment. I then realized I could craft 40mm grenades on my own, but it'd be a bit expensive, costing quite a bit of high quality metal. By now, there was one last major place I want to check out for my 100 days of SurrounDEAD, the airfield. I ended up heading south from my base and approached the Valley airfield from the east. The airfield was completely overrun by zombies. According to the game, there were 2 POI bosses here, and to make matters worse, I could see a ton of undead hounds. On the bright side, they were pretty much out in the open, so I made sure to poke away at as many targets as I could so I wouldn't get overwhelmed. I checked out these barracks for some looty goodies, but ended up making my way over to the air traffic control tower. I cleared out the zombies that I could see along the way, headed into the ATC where I found pieces of a ghillie suit, which we'll revisit in a bit, but it wasn't long until I noticed the bodyguard, General Romez. I do have an idea. All right, so this one, I'm gonna toss a nade out. Oh yeah. Yep. Everybody group up. Yep. Watch this. Oh! What? It shoots so much faster than I thought it would. Oh my god. Yeah, I had no idea the grenade launcher could fire that quickly, and needless to say, it did quite a good job at clearing out the zombie herd. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough 40mm grenades on me to take out the 2 bosses, but they were on their last legs anyways and went down after a few hits from the Phantasm. There's some hangars with some sealed up doors. One keycard later, and the hangar door swung open to reveal a small group of zombies, which I then promptly put down. Also, as a side note, I kept coming across more pieces of the ghillie suit, and by now, I was pretty sure I had enough for the whole set. It was a good thing I still had some keycards left because the secret high tier crate for the airfield was also here. So probably would make my way back. There is an experiment I want to try out. What was this experiment, you may be wondering? Well, remember the meat grinder I built into my base? For the last few days here, I wanted to put it to the ultimate test. Also, I swapped out a lot of my gear to complete the ghillie suit. I wasn't entirely sure why I did this, considering that I don't think zombies would get me confused for a bush, but hey, at least I looked really cool. Oh, dude, I'm a bush. The plan was simple: go down to the Tropical Shell Hotel and lure a bunch of zombies back to the main base. Come on in. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. that's a lot of zombies. Do they stop moving? Hey. I really wanted to pack the meat grinder with as many zombies as I could, so I went back to the hotel to grab up another wave. This time, however, I bumped up the zombie spawn rate from normal to about 6x the amount. There were a few issues with doing this though, mainly that there were quite a few more sprinter zombies I had to clear out, and secondly, the lag. There's so many zombies. My computer is definitely starting to lag a little bit. Oh, it's way too close. Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, I didn't mean to kill some of y'all. Come on. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Nice and easy, nice little conga line. The third issue was that because the zombie horde was so big, some of them were just naturally a bit faster than the others, and given their short-ish aggro range, I actually had to constantly loop back in a circle to re-aggro the stragglers in the back. The fourth issue was that the undead seemed to completely freeze and de-aggro once I climbed onto the safety of my base. Staying in the meat grinder wasn't exactly an option, but I found out that somehow sitting on the stairwell actually would make them move again. Alright, go for round 2. It's gonna take some finessing. Oh, okay. Close, dude. There's still a couple out there, but I almost got myself killed the last time. I had a lot of zombies in there, sure, but I wanted to fill it to the brim. I had the idea to build some fences to hold back the zombies I did have, that way I can go back to the Tropical Shell Hotel to lure in a new group without getting sandwiched by both herds. Yep, that's a lot of zombies. Pick this up. That up. Let's get everybody in here. That should line it up. Yep. Everybody who wasn't in there should be in the freaking net now. Yep. Come on in. Finally, there's room for everybody. Don't be shy. Gather around. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's so many zombies. God, just the moaning from all of them. I need to be careful of where I step. That evening, I disassembled the mountain of ammo I've amassed up to this point to convert them to, that's right, 300 40mm grenades. I then spent the morning rounding up a few more zombies because greed, and then, at last, just about every square inch of the meat grinder had been filled. Well, weather's kind of pouring, so it gets its time, zombies. Oh my god! Holy cow! They're all dead! Wow, the entire zombie herd. Well, there you have it. The undead summation was a resounding success, and with that, my time here was up. There were still plenty of places and mysteries to explore, but I think it's about time for another adventure. How about this time, instead of a zombie virus, we go and try to rid the galaxy of another scourge, the Red Darkness.